I still remember the last time I saw him alive. He was lying in that hospital bed, so thin, so pale, like the life had already started leaving him before the doctors even said the words. The cancer came fast, too fast. One day he was fine, complaining about a backache, and 3 months later, he was fighting just to breathe. I sat by his side every single day, holding his hand, whispering to him, telling him I loved him, telling him we'd get through it. But he stopped looking at me. Not because he was weak, but because he was angry. And I didn't understand why. Not until it was too late. It started with a letter. Not from him, but from someone else. A woman. Her name was Claire. I found it tucked inside his old jacket, the one he wore to work every day before he got sick. At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe a work thing, a note from a colleague. But when I opened it, my heart dropped. It was personal, intimate. She wrote about how much she missed him, how she dreamed of the day they could be together, how she knew I didn't understand him the way she did. My hand shook so hard, I could barely read the words. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at that caper, wondering if my whole marriage had been a lie. And then, worst of all, I thought, maybe he knew. Maybe he thought I had been the one cheating. I didn't confront him right away. I couldn't. Every time I looked at him, I saw the pain in his eyes, the way he turned his face when I tried to kiss him goodnight. I started thinking he must have found the letter, that he believed I'd betrayed him. How could he not? The dates on the letter, they were from months ago, right around the time I was traveling from my mom's surgery. I was gone for 2 weeks. I told him I'd be calling every night, but the hospital had bad reception, and I was so tired. I didn't call as much as I should have. And now, here was this letter making it look like I was the one hiding something. So I stayed quiet. I thought if I just loved him harder, stayed by his side, held his hand through every treatment, maybe he'd see the truth. Maybe he'd know I would never do that to him. But instead, he grew colder. He stopped talking to me. He'd look past me like I wasn't even there. I cried every night after I left the hospital, sitting in my car, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. I kept thinking, if he dies thinking I betrayed him, I'll never forgive myself. But I was too scared to bring it up. What if it made things worse? What if he asked me about the letter and I couldn't explain? Then one evening, he woke up more alert than he'd been in days. His voice was weak, but clear. He reached for my hand and said, "I need to tell you something." My heart pounded. I thought he was finally going to talk about the letter, about Claire, about whatever he thought I'd done. I nodded, tears already in my eyes. But instead, he whispered, "I'm sorry." I froze. "For what?" I asked. He closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. "I'm sorry for not trusting you, for letting pride keep me from asking. I found that letter, and I thought you had someone else." I couldn't speak. I just stared at him, my whole body trembling. He said, "I should have talked to you, but I was scared. I was dying, and the thought that you might not love me anymore, it broke me." That's when I finally told him. Through tears, I told him about finding the letter, about Claire, about how I thought he thought I cheated. His face changed. Confusion, then horror. "No, he said, his voice cracking. No, that letter, it wasn't from a lover. It was from my sister. I stopped breathing. Claire? Your sister? He nodded slowly. She's been trying to reconnect for years. We lost touch after Mom died. She didn't know about you. I never told her I was married. I kept the letter because I didn't know how to tell her I was sick. I didn't want her to see me like this. I felt like the world had shattered. All this pain, all this silence, all this heartbreak because of a letter I never should have read, because neither of us had the courage to just talk. I held his hand tighter, begging him to understand that I never cheated, that I loved him more than anything. And he looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in months. He said, I know. I know now. He smiled just a little, and for a second, everything felt okay. Like we'd finally found our way back to each other. But the next morning, he was gone. Just like that. No warning, no final words, just silence. I sit here now, staring at that letter again. It's folded neatly on my nightstand. I haven't thrown it away. I don't know if I ever will. Because it's not just a piece of paper. It's a reminder of how silence can destroy even the strongest love, of how pride and fear can keep two people from saying the things that matter most. He died thinking I betrayed him. And I died a little too, knowing he carried that lie in his heart until the very end. I would give anything to go back and just talk to him, to tell him, hey, I found this letter. Who's Claire? That's all it would have taken. But we didn't. And now all I have is this ache, this quiet house, and the unbearable weight of a truth that came one day too late.